90.7 KPFK, Los Angeles.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire, where intimacy means insight, uncovering the truth about sex and relationships, delving into the science of seduction, your sex, your stories, and everything in between. This is Unzipped with Cary Harrison.
And it is Unzipped. Welcome. Well, we are live streaming right now on Substack. And coming up, I just want to let you know, we're going to open the phones to find out what topics and what subjects are relevant to you during these times. Why? Because your voice matters. And doing the sort of content that means something to you and gives you strength and empowers you and helps you get ahead is exactly what we are committing to do here. So later on, we're going to have open phones, and we're going to get your direct input. Live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Cary Harrison Substack or YouTube so we can stay connected. You can easily find us also live at kpfk.net. Just go to kpfk.net. Also, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at caryharrison.com, caryharrison.com. There you're going to get a and I haven't even been drinking. Not for years, actually, but it sure sounded like it. There at caryharrison.com, you're going to get a transcript of the entire show, plus access to clips and stuff that we simply will not and cannot do anymore on the radio. And that's our newsletter at caryharrison.com, which reminds me back in the good old days when I started, we used to have so much fun on the radio. Let me tell you, I was on a rock station. We did bits. You know, this was the era of Howard Stern. Like, we really could do the stuff that people were thinking and talking about in real life. Now we have to be so formal, so polite, speak in code, use metaphors, use analogies, because, well, you just don't dare do anything. And then you wonder how we end up where we are today, which is, where's the Democratic Party in this desperate emergency for life and death? Tomorrow, they're going to do an action. What does that mean? What is an action? Seriously, what is an action? To me, that sounds like a protest. We're going to hold up paper signs. Or does it mean they're going to take action? No, they didn't say that. They said they were going to have an action. So again, indirect, vague, unclear, and you get vague, unclear, indirect results, which is why we're going to open up the phones in about 20 minutes. And we want to get your direct input into what you want the show to do for you. And we're going to do that for you. Well, we do have a show for you tonight that's going to knock the patriotic blinders right off your star-spangled eyes. Meet Mike Williams. He's a combat medic. He's a musician, living proof that Uncle Sam has a curious way of thanking his veterans with red tape, broken promises, and a nice helping of financial ruin for way too many. He's patched up soldiers on the battlefield only to watch them get bled dry back home. And his song, The Price We Paid, lays it all bare. The debt, the despair, the kind of betrayal that makes you wonder if the enemy was uniquely overseas after all. And speaking of betrayal, let's talk about the Veterans Administration. Agent Orange, yes, it took them 33 years to admit it was poisoning vets. Burn pits? Well, they resisted that one for decades, too, until a comedian had to shame Congress into action. And now the VA is getting gutted again. And that's everyone in the VA. That's straight people. That's gay people. That's what used to be called 1 month ago DEI, or Live Upright Humans. And it's all done in the name of efficiency. Because what could be more inefficient than destroying everything? Nothing says support our troops like firing them from the jobs that keep them alive. And it seems that sarcasm seems to be the only route that connects with any of us these days. So let's jump into it, Mike. You've seen the battlefield from two angles, frontline medic and back home survivor. I want to welcome you to the show.
And Cary, it's great to be here.
I know I'm not over egging the pudding here by being like thunderously direct here, but we really need it at this point. You've spent years patching up soldiers in the field. how does it feel watching your fellow veterans get left to bleed out again financially back home?
Well, it's interesting because the dichotomy on this is very it's very clear to me where when I'm in the field and I have guys that get busted up, and I'm sorry, I should say when I have soldiers that get busted up, yeah, I'm there to patch them up and to keep them above ground is the pleasant way we say that. And it's so interesting because I'll put every single piece of my existence into that individual to stabilize them, to keep them living. And then I hand them off to a flight medic, to a helicopter, and I never see him again. And so you're always wondering, did they make it? And that's one piece. And the second piece is when you come home and you see your brothers and sisters just getting shafted. And I need to be careful here because I'm the VA is the VA is doing the best they can. There's clerical errors that occur. But if you have an unpaid bill that goes to collections versus goes to the individual that's looking to pay it, because that's the part that is not understood. I didn't understand that. I mean, I'm going to roll back here for a second, Cary. What I'm saying is when I was leaving the military, I got busted up pretty bad. I'm missing body parts, but you can see all the ones on the outside. So I'm going to call that a win. And I was sent for a medical evaluation to see what disability I would have. And I was in a waiting room with guys missing arms and legs. And I just simply said, no, these guys need it more than I do. I tapped out. It took me close to 25 years to actually go back and look at my VA benefits. And once I did, and they found out, oh, golly, it's time for another surgery. I didn't realize I was going to have to pay for that. And there's so many people, there's so many, there's so many veterans that are in that position where they don't realize, oh, crap, I got to pay for this and I can't pay for it. And that's what happened to my brother. Yeah, he had medical bill that was mismanaged in the VA and it was sent to collections. He lost his house. He's got a wife and 2 kids. He did everything he possibly could to take care of them. That was from his service in Iraq and what he did afterwards.
And we know, Mike Williams, that if it is service related, they'll often cover the medical care. But if you can't specifically and provably, with incredible evidence, link it to service related injury, they can dismiss it and have you pay out of pocket, which millions of people have that story, which also leads to financial bankruptcy. Let's talk for a second about diversity in the military firsthand. Armchair generals or guys that aren't generals at all have become generals poof overnight, head of the entire military system, who think the battle place is no place for inclusion. Yet it's the inclusion that creates the integrity that allows you to feel confident that you've got an actual team working together. I'm talking about DEI, a term that many people hadn't heard of 6 months ago, but it's gotten rid of everyone who technically isn't a white male.
It's interesting you say this because DEI, I'll give this to you in terms of being in the field. I had the honor of serving with 3rd Special Forces Group. Well, I'll make this clear. I was Special Operations and I was attached to 3rd Special Forces Group. And downrange, when you're deployed, DEI doesn't come into this. You see, if the person next to you is doing their job, you're going to give them the respect. And if you are going to take care of them as they're going to take care of you, in terms of if bad things happen, we're all We're all going to light it up. DEI is not part of that perspective. You respect the professionalism of that individual. And it doesn't matter. I mean, the joke that we have in the Army is we're all the same color, green.
Mm.
Okay. I didn't plan on wearing this on purpose, but yeah, we're all green.
For those of you watching on Substack, you can go to the Cary Harrison Substack. Just Google Cary Harrison Substack or Cary Harrison YouTube. You'll see that Mike is wearing green, maybe for St. Patrick's Day, maybe because he knew we were going to actually mention this, but it sounds more like St. Patrick's Day. Either way, it's good to be able to physically see you. And I wonder if every member of Congress had to spend a year living as a disabled veteran on VA benefits, how long do you think it would take for policy to change?
Cary, that's a very interesting question. I do know that there are brothers and sisters that I've served with that they can tell you they're very careful about how they spend their money and what they do. And I do believe that would be enlightening. It comes down to this where you don't know, you don't have an understanding of the challenges until you got to take them yourself.
Can you tell us, Mike Williams, what some of your injuries were? Otherwise, we're going to try to guess. We may be wrong, but everyone comes back. It can be everything from PTSD to physical damage. You're obviously coping with something this many years later.
I got a part of my side was torn up, and part of my right hand lower side was blown up, and been through 5 surgeries, and then my shoulder was busted up pretty bad, and that's been rebuilt. And I was in jump school and busted up my foot, and eventually I'll need to have that fixed. But the thing that, Cary, I want you to understand that when you're serving, especially on teams, especially be it, and I need to make this very clear, special operations is a very, very huge umbrella. And underneath that, you have smaller units, smaller umbrellas like Rangers and Special Forces. I had the honor of serving with Special Forces, but I don't have a Green Beret. All right, I didn't earn that, but I respect the hell out of these guys. I mean, they're amazing, and the fact that I got to work with them, I'm honored. But here's the point. You don't want to go home broke. You don't want to drop off a mission because you're busted up. You want to take that from start to finish. And that's what we do.
So here we are today. People for decades have reasonably, responsibly, reliably, soberly talked about how the VA has fallen short. You pointed out there's a lot of clerical issues. It's a fact. It's like a giant it is a giant corporation with giant hospitals and lots of doctors. And things are not perfect. They're not perfect in Switzerland, where you get the greatest bang for your buck and the finest doctors who ever lived, who make boo-boos, who put on the wrong Band-Aid. These things happen. But now we have on purpose taking a inefficient system, and instead of making it more efficient, which I think has been the goal in the last, say, 4 years, it is now to purposely make it 10 times more inefficient. We have millions of vets looking at that. Is everyone aware of that, or is this just part of the zeitgeist of madness and chaos that we're all just trying to understand? I would think you guys are well trained to look at stuff and get it for what it is.
Cary, what I've seen personally, and with my brothers and sisters that I've had contact with after service, it's a slow drip where all of a sudden that one benefit you had is gone, and then another, and then another. What we're seeing right now is definitely an aggressive cost-cutting means, but I want to be careful here because there are services that have been stripped back over the years, and it's done very carefully over time. We're just in a position now where what we're seeing is much more aggressive. The brothers and sisters that I've served with, I don't see any change where they're at today than they were at 5 months ago. But I do know that we're looking to save the taxpayers money. And I don't know where that's going to end up.
Well, I wish we all were looking to do that, but we haven't been told yet where that money that gets saved actually goes. Since Congress, and I pardon me for saying all of this, but Congress has already apportioned this money. It's sitting in a gigantic bucket ready to be distributed. So suddenly canceling the program that distributes the money is still in the bucket. Somebody's going to collect it. Who is that somebody? And that money might belong to you, it might belong to me, and you're the one that went out and made it possible for us to live stream this show tonight, to make it possible for us to have what freedom we still would like to think that we enjoy. You made that possible. And so for me to watch this, it's mind numbing. And I just wonder, I don't think there's a community room for all military people to actually discuss this back and forth and make a plan. So in many ways, you're like the rest of us. We're all little isolated molecules spread out everywhere with no union, so to speak, where we can figure out what to do next. So that, sorry about the AI, is blowing balloons up behind me because I put my fingers up. That's scary,
Very nice.
isn't it? Yeah, that's scary. So in many ways, these conversations being overheard right now by straight vets, LGBT vets, if there is such a thing anymore, technically, legally, maybe not, because the president said we're erasing you from public life. And I think by defunding a lot of these programs, they're erasing all of us, no matter who we are, from public life. And then if you never really existed, then there isn't a problem to be solved. And as a military guy, your job is to problem solve. That's very deep, I know, but I don't have an answer.
And Cary, you're spot on in what you're saying. In the field, especially with the teams that I worked with, there are so many times where you need to get creative. I mean, there's so many times where I was in a mission and I was thinking to myself in the back of my head, I'm never trained for this shit. And I'm sorry, I said a bad
We're
word.
gonna dump that. Wendell. Please make sure you dump that. Not your
I'm
fault,
sorry.
Mike.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Old school terrestrial broadcasting. That's all.
So, yeah, I've encountered events where I was questioning. It's like, well, we never had a block of instruction on fill in the blank, and we took care of things. And it's nothing heroic. I mean, we're just trying to stabilize regions. I mean, that's a majority of what I did for 10 years, is getting dropped into places, working with the most excellent people, and trying to fix something that was broken for far longer than possibly I've been living. So when I step back, and I really want to address your point directly, Cary, and that's where, when I look at things from a political context, understand that I'm never paid for my politics. I'm paid to do a job, and I want to do that job well. What comes back on the back end, that's perspective.
We're talking right now to Mike Williams. He's a battle-tested medic, a lifelong musician. He blends frontline expertise, IT precision, and deep compassion to heal through both action and music. And Mike, you're good enough to come on today, and we really wanted to sort of and we did. We talked about DEI, which is a giant chunk. In fact, it was painted over with rollers over an entire wall, erasing from public life everybody that would check a box that wasn't like me, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. You unexist. All of that having made our military the finest in all of human history. Flashing forward, you've turned your experience into music. Your song, The Price We Paid, do you think that song can shame America into finally honoring its debts to veterans, or are we possibly beyond your and my reach to a government that can even hear us?
Cary, I'm going to take one word you said. It's shame, and no, I just want to open eyes. It's I'll give you. This is how I unpack things. You have a duffel bag. I'm sure we've all seen one. It's a big, ugly green bag, and there's usually a padlock on the top. Emotionally, it takes a significant amount of courage to unlock the padlock, and it takes a lot more to unpack it. As I'm unpacking my duffel bag, this is something I encountered, and it's something from my heart, I want to share with other people. It's like, hey, you can take this or you can leave this, but understand they're beautiful people that have laid down their lives for our country, and they're getting the shaft. Wake up.
It occurs to me, and this is why I really always enjoy talking to military people, because unlike many of us, we might be disciplined, we might have been trained, we might have assumed a certain skill craft for the benefit of company or the benefit of our own personal careers. But you guys are actually, you go through boot camp where you have to learn how to think and you have to take accountability if you make a mistake. You don't get to make an excuse and, oh, okay, he was tired. No, that doesn't fly in your world. So that's why I like your perspective, because you don't get to just fall back on, oh, well. The government, the modern one that we're dealing with right now, plus the previous ones, have spared no expense sending people to war. Why does it suddenly find fiscal responsibility? Like, oh my God, this is the most important thing. That same government has suddenly found fiscal responsibility when it's time to take care of veterans afterward. Any insight?
Well, I remember I was on a deployment one time, and there were people high ranking they were senators that came down, and they were to, you know, be part of this, or at least to see the operation that we were part of. And the first thing they did is they asked, who's from a certain state? And if you weren't from that state, they wouldn't talk to you. And I thought, that's interesting. And there was nobody from California, so I wasn't able to talk to anybody. But it was interesting to see their focus being that they were looking to make sure that they could address the people that voted them into office. And as far as the actual care for the individuals downrange, the people deployed, that wasn't their objective. Their objective was to handshake the people that could get them reelected. And I'm not saying that this is any conspiracy theory. It's not. It really isn't. It's just amazing how you can see how people are motivated by what pays their bills.
Mike Williams, if you could rewrite the rules of veteran care from scratch, where would you start?
Compassion. It's that simple. Compassion.
I would
You
I would
take
love to say we all know what that means, but I have to assume not the people listening to this show, but generally speaking, people have an IQ of 80 or below. At least that's what it's now looking like. Tell us, what is compassion?
you take people that chose to serve. Myself, and my brothers and sisters, and we all come back. as soon as you hold up your hand, you say, "So help me God," and you serve in the military, you're going into a meat grinder, and some of them are a little bit more rough than others. And what I mean by compassion is when they come back, say, "Welcome home. Let's take care of you." That's compassion. And there's a lot of
Well,
red tape.
if America won't listen to reason, whatever America is to any of us anymore, what might be the one thing that veterans as a group, somehow, if there a way where all of you could talk at the same time, what might you do to get the country's attention?
Cary, that's a powerful question. To get
And
their
there's no
attention, I
answer
would
for it.
just, well, I just say, take a look at these people that are torn up. Open your eyes. Wake up. Let's take care of them.
Well, I appreciate your coming on and helping us understand this scenario because a lot of people are looking at Medicare, at Social Security, at this, at that. There's so much chaos that we forget that the government itself, part of its biggest employment base are in fact veterans. So it's not just, taking the teeth out of the VA and making it less effective, less efficient when it's supposed to be more efficient, but also firing people whose paychecks and because they have disciplined skill sets are no longer able to work. And so it's a giant kind of elephant in the middle of the room that most people don't know is there. How do they follow you? How do we get to hear your music and learn what you know?
So, right now, I'm working on two separate projects. Well, integrated projects and Veteran Debt. And that's where my music is initially being presented. And I'm part of the Harmonetics project, which is a separate, it's a separate focus. And Veteran Debt, they deal with people who have debt, veterans who have debt, because what what is very well known is the idea, the ideation of suicide. If you have a massive amount of debt and you're busted up and you can't work enough to pay off your debt, life insurance looks pretty good at that point. The part that I work with the Harmonetics project is being able to help align, help harmonize the individual so they can move forward.
Mike, if you don't mind me asking, again, we're not experts. People are smoking a cigarette and driving or pot or whatever, and they may not get life insurance, looks pretty attractive. So can you help us know what that means?
I'll give you a direct snapshot. I had a very clear conversation with a veteran, Michael Thorne. I was a combat medic, and he was too. And we were in different decades because I served from 1990 to 2000. He served from 2000 to, I believe, about 2008. And I made a comment to him. I got married for one reason. It's going to sound bad, Cary, but my wife put up with my crap. Okay, you're not going to bleep me on this, right?
No, that's a great word. We love it.
And she put up with my crap for 7 years as my fiance. And when I was in Bosnia, I thought, with 1 million plus landmines on the ground, the best thing I could possibly do is to give back to this beautiful lady. If I come home in a bag, she gets $100,000. And I thought that that was a unique experience to myself. And this gentleman, Michael Thorne, he said, "Well, that's interesting," because he thought the same thing when he was in Iraq. And at that time, the SGLI, the Servicemen Group Life Insurance, had gone up to $250,000. And he thought the same thing. And what people miss, outside of the fact that there's 44 veterans every day that end their lives. I'm not making this up. This is a study from the University of Alabama and Duke University. In collaboration, they came up with these numbers, but Cary, the number one cause of death in the military is accidents. And if you're getting out and you don't think you have anything to live for outside of your broken body, the accident looks pretty attractive. That breaks my heart.
Yeah. It seems to me that we're going to need to, and I'm opening up the phones very shortly in just a couple of minutes to get people's take on what they would like to see in a show like this. Unlimited open ears, because we're here for that purpose. And, you know, I think courses in resiliency and teaching people how to cope and also activism, how to connect with a government that doesn't want to listen. Things like that can be useful tools to all of us. And if it helps one, it helps the other. And I think that's the
Right.
central core of military thinking, isn't it? All for one, one for all. You guys are a unit.
It's funny. We fight like brothers and sisters until somebody throws a punch on the outside, and then it's game on.
Well, let's finish with how people can follow you and hear your latest song or observe your projects, Mike Williams.
So the best way to at least share my music right now is End Better in Debt. That's that's where it's being broadcast right now.
Okay.
We're going to do something for D-Day that's going to be fantastic. And Cary, I look forward to being able to get that to you once we have that all put together.
Well, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate your staying up. Well, East Coast, it would be late. West Coast, still very early. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm wishing you all the best. And I'm going to make good on putting together some courses in resiliency and other things because it's critically necessary. I'm seeing it now. Thanks to you, Mike Williams, and I very much appreciate your coming on today.
I'm honored. Thank you, Cary.
Thank you so much. Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped. It's a special variant of IMRU Radio. Also, the Cary Harrison Files. Coming up, we are going to open up the phones. We are going to take your calls. We want to know what you want. What do you need in good old-fashioned public radio, FM broadcasting from the strongest FM west of the Mississippi? For years, we decide, we throw it on. You listen. You don't get to choose. Spotify, you can pick the song you want to hear. Radio, oh, no, no, no. You wait. If it's music, you might wait 3 hours for the song you want to hear. We're going to change that. I'm going to change that. I want to hear what you want to hear, and we will go make that happen for you, including putting together webinars and courses to make us all be more geared up, more resilient during these impossible times, even if it's just to survive. Other people will have the chops for action-oriented stuff. So we're going to do all of that. That has nothing to do with your calling in. I'm just letting you know I'm passionate about that. So that's going to happen. And you can always learn more at caryharrison.com. Sign up for our newsletter. We're also live streaming on Substack and YouTube. Just Google Cary Harrison Substack or Cary Harrison YouTube. You'll be able to see the live stream, formerly Twitter, now known as X, and everything else with a chip and a signal. As we continue, we're going to open up the phones at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. I want to hear from you. What do you want to hear on the radio?
IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between. IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison. Your sex, your stories, and everything in between.
And it is Unzipped. Cary Harrison with you, your new best friend. Welcome. We are opening up the lines. We're also live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Cary Harrison Substack or YouTube so we can stay connected. You can also easily find us live at kpfk.net. Just go to kpfk.net. That's .net, kpfk.net. Also, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at caryharrison.com, caryharrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of the entire show, plus access to clips and stuff that we simply and cannot do any longer. This is not the 1990s on the terrestrial antenna radio. Even though we can bust through maybe 1 million car windshields on every freeway, even get through tunnels, there's just stuff we just can't do anymore. And that's those are political decisions. And so we're under a pretty harsh whip these days. That's our newsletter at caryharrison.com. So we're going to take calls right now, and we're going to talk about the show you need, but only if you tell us what that is. And I get that in this format, for many years, it has not been call-in. So you haven't been trained like good collies, like spaniels, to pick up the phone and dial out. When in doubt, dial out. But here you are, you sitting in traffic, scrolling through the abyss while driving, or pretending to work while eavesdropping on reality. So here's the question. When is the last time a show actually gave a darn about what you needed? Shucks. Not what advertisers want, not what some algorithm thinks will keep you numb and obedient, but what actually helps you navigate the circus we call modern life. Well, we're here to break that mold, but we need your voice. I want you to call in. I want you to shout. I want you to whisper. I want you to send smoke signals. I want you to tell us what keeps you up at night. Is it the state of veterans left to fend for themselves? The way government policies hit like a wrecking ball while promising support? Or maybe it's just the absurdity of these times in which we live, where up is down and right is whatever gets the most clicks. The Orwellian madness of it all. War is peace, up is down, black is white. Let's throw in Aldous Huxley while we're at it. Throw in a little Jonathan Swift, a little P.T. Barnum. I think we're getting closer, right? This show right now is not for passive listeners. I want you to be active. I want you to pick up the phone. I want you to be the kind of person who wants to say, I want a show that fits my needs. And we will bring you the truth. We'll bring you a little dark humor. We'll bring you the hard questions, but only if you help us to shape the conversation. So pick up the phone right now. I'm not asking for a donation here. I'm asking for your input. Pick up the phone. Make some noise. Let's turn this into a show that actually matters. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. The lines are open. What do you need from radio in today's world? What do you need from radio in today's world? 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. Lines are open. What do you need from radio in today's world?
Hello, just like the old days in 1932 when I was only 50 years old. Yep, old-timey radio with a modern twist, complete with retired Union Foley operators and authentic vacuum tube audio processors. Gather around the wireless, plop your ass onto the Davenport, light up a Chesterfield, grab your loved one, not there. It's time for Uncle Harry's Big News Story Time. In today's live reenactment, we tackle a current news issue and retell it the way it probably happened, or more perversely, could have happened. This week it's Harry.
Well, it's not just Indiana.
California's Attorney General has now stepped in to quash one of those statewide ballot initiatives that allows anyone to propose a law with just $200 and enough lunatics to sign a petition. The new Sodomite Suppression Act would allow Californians to assassinate random gays under a special death penalty provision. And just think, a mere accusation could be terminal, especially for any closeted golfing buddies at California's many country clubs.
You know, we should donate even more money. The Sodomite Suppression Act is going to clean up this county. Cheers.
Hi, welcome to the club. I'm Bruce. I'll be your server today.
Chad, would you like to order first?
Yes, certainly.
We have salmon, salted sea snails, and a salad niçoise.
Jesus, I think someone just hit a high C.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to take a whiff. Would you like to join me in the men's room?
Why, certainly.
Grab your martini. Here we are.
Oh, drat this zipper.
Oh, hold your drink.
Oh, let me get
Hold
you.
my drink.
I will.
I'll help you pull that out.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh.
Hello? Sirs,
Yes.
your entrees are ready.
We'll be right out.
I'm coming in. Oh my goodness. Your naughty parts are in his hand.
Well, that doesn't mean a damn thing.
Good heavens! Sodomites! Sodomites! Goodness! I have to get out my Smith & Wesson. Clean up in the bedroom! Sodomites!
And of course, these lawmakers had to find a way to work in the Second Amendment to fight sodomy.
Cary Harrison.
And there's your reality bite.
This is the Cary Harrison Files. CaryHarrison.com.
You know, you have to love satire. You could do that, or I could do that as a very straightforward story, and we would all be just shocked and appalled and clutch our pearls and move on. But, you know, and we're going to go to the phones in just a second. Back in the old days, and we're talking the 1700s when Jonathan Swift wrote Gulliver's Travels, he could not write about the king. He was an Irishman, after all, St. Patrick's Day. He could not write directly about the king because his head would suddenly fall off his shoulders and roll down the alley. So he had to use satire. He had to write about Brobdingnagians, these giants, and Lilliputians, the little people, and all of these were metaphors for the crown. And of course, it became a bestseller, and it is still enshrined in our reading list today, wherever reading is legal still. So that cuts out about, 30 states in the United States. I can only laugh because as a kid, like that would never be possible. Seriously, that could never be possible. But here we are today. So that's why I want to make this show and any other show that I'm involved in one that matters to you, that speaks to what you need, not what somebody else wants, not what some algorithm thinks is going to keep you numb and dumb and obedient, but what's actually going to help you navigate the circus we call modern life. Let's go to GS in Lake Tahoe, California. You're on Unzipped. Welcome. Hey, GS.
Well, yeah, I'll be really quick about it. First of all, thank you so much for you being you and doing what you do. I didn't mean to make a rhyme, but I love your show. I have only been a listener since I didn't even know your show existed until about a month ago. But I listen as often as I can, and I admire your work, and I appreciate your style and what you draw out of your guests. It's very informative stuff and very personal, very real stuff. And so my basic question for you, now I'm retired, I'm 75 almost, and I can do what I want with my time, but I only have so much to live on. And you don't need any more details than that. But I guess my question is, with the focus on doing what one can to help, especially disabled veterans, or really veterans in general, but especially people who were injured in the course of their service and so forth, what can an ordinary person like me do? Can I contribute to the Veterans Administration? Does that make any sense? or shall I just spread your name and fame all over the place and get more people listening to the kinds of interviews you have?
Well, I like the second part, your second solution, but that's very self-serving. Of course, I'm going to like that. The first one, you've already been paying for the VA. So donating to the VA is only going to get, let's just say the money is going to go somewhere else, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. And we dare not say who and what that is.
Right. Okay.
So you and I are now living in a time where we dare not say, because it could be punishable, yet we must say. That's the conundrum. Yet we must.
It's insane. It's insane that it has come to this. What kinds of people have taken control that has led us to this cliff edge? It's insane.
I'm guessing if you're 70, you're 75. So
yeah,
you served, am I right? You would have been maybe in the age for draft or at least serving?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was draft age, but I also just was the beneficiary of a college deferment because I had signed up to go to college. And in that day, back then, late 60s, early 70s, right in that era, if you were going to college, you could get a college deferment. And then what you did after that, I mean, I could still have joined the military, but I never wound up doing that. But in any case, yeah, so anyway, that was just my personal situation. But I have had cousins who did serve in the military, different branches of the military, and I have the greatest respect for people to put their lives on the line to stand up for freedom, democracy, or whatever the hell this great country is supposed to be all about. So anyway, as an ordinary individual now, I don't even know that there's a Veterans Administration office or anything like that up here. I guess my question is basically, as an ordinary individual who has friends and relatives who have served in the military, various branches, what can I do these days to help people who have done that kind of service?
So you can go online and you can just Google veterans services or ways I can help veterans. I realize it sounds like a really stupid thing to type in, but believe it or not, you're going to get links to all kinds of nonprofits, organizations that are doing the heavy lifting that others will not. And you will touch people and you will make a difference. And here we are. It's up to us again, but at least we can do something, and it will matter. You touch one person, you're going to touch their family, you're going to touch their mortgage, their car payment, whatever their life looks like as it expands. It's going to matter and make a difference. So I appreciate you, GS. Appreciate you calling in from Lake Tahoe.
Very good. Thanks so much for your suggestions. I'll follow that lead and see what happens. I'll do what I can.
All right, my friend. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
You too.
Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped. That opens up a line, actually opens up two lines at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. And exploring, even though we didn't just do that, but really, maybe there is no wish list except just a place to vent, to show that you're not insane, that we're not all walking on our knuckles, hispidulous, hunchbacked mountebanks, which is what we're all given to believe. And it's not true. My friends are smart and they're funny and witty and clever, though I don't see that representation in my own government. I don't see that in my Congress. I don't see that in my highest leadership. I'm told that I'm an idiot and that I should shut up and that I simply don't get the plot of the play, which is so like elite and advanced, and it's being run by a genius, and I'm just some kind of moron, and I just can't see. I'm blind. And, I think there's about 150 million of us who just scratch our head, and we're just not sure. Let's jump to Sue from Los Angeles. Sue, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hello, how you doing?
Improved by the music of your voice.
That's awesome. Can you hear me well?
I hear you great, Sue.
Great. Yeah, I just wanted to, I work at the VA, I'm a nurse at the VA, and they, sometimes people bicker and fight and go about it. Oh, I voted for Trump or I didn't vote for him. I'm like, we gotta think bigger than that sometimes, because right now we're in it. We're living it. Like, we can't go back. We can't change the hands of time. We need to check our current system, because if someone can just become president, no matter who they are, if Trump today is someone else tomorrow, and just make all these changes, it's a problem with our system. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, the founding daddies did not intend for this ever to happen. They really didn't. They put in all kinds of safeguards for if another tyrant were to rise. Well, it really can't happen but I don't think they imagined this, because this is so out of the box and so not describable. Even by TV critics could say this is a great reality show. I can't even follow the unscripted motif. Like, nobody gets it, except that if you just have endless chaos like reality TV, just keep changing the plot, keep changing the what's it called when you go to a commercial, the cliffhanger, tariffs, no tariffs, this, that, stock market up and down.
I'm a history guru.
Yes.
But I heard someone was hired. I heard someone was elected. He was in prison to be president. I can't remember his name exactly. I think it's Dura. Can't remember his name, but someone was elected as a prisoner in prison. So, I mean, if we look back far enough, some of the stuff has happened before. We just got to get the right balances and checks, where if someone tries it, it just can't happen. Yeah, he's signing these orders, but people are carrying them out. So we got a bigger problem than just Trump.
Well, Sue, I hope you'll run for Congress. I will support you.
Thank you. You have a good day. I appreciate you.
Thanks. Be well.
Bye.
Cary Harrison with you. This is Unzipped, part of the IMRU family, which is the longest, formerly known as LGBT. I don't know what we call it anymore. They got rid of the T. Is it LGB? Is it nothing? Has it been erased from public life? Yes, officially, by directive out of the White House. There is no such thing. So if you happen to be Black, gay, a woman, you don't exist. I know. What? Sure I do. Well, you do and you don't. And that's sort of what we're looking at today, is that the emperor has no clothes, or their beautiful clothes, the greatest clothes, the best clothes ever made. We're live streaming right now on Substack. I hear there might be an issue with that stream, but I'm not sure. As well as YouTube. You can simply Google Cary Harrison Substack or Cary Harrison YouTube, and we'll stay connected. You can also find us live at kpfk.net. Just go to kpfk.net. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at caryharrison.com, caryharrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of the entire show, plus access to clips and stuff we simply cannot do on the radio. And that's our newsletter at caryharrison.com. I am going to record some promos, because I keep hearing that, well, who knew you were on this second show? Who knew? They're right. Who knew? Nobody knew. So looks like I have to do more, even more. But that's okay. I want to do even more, and I really could use your guidance. And when you do sign up for our newsletter at caryharrison.com, if there's a way you can send me a message and let me know what you would like out of good old-fashioned terrestrial radio, or even just in my Substack newsletters, I write these long, jeremiads, these disquisitions. If you let me know what you want to learn about, know about, what we can do for the heavy lifting for you, I'm going to do it. But I can only do it if I know what that is. I can't mind read. Some people will tell you they can mind read. I'm one of the guys that will tell you I can't. I don't even want to, frankly. It's hard enough in my own mind, and when I'm alone with myself, I am in a dangerous neighborhood. So I need to be with all of you to break that up. We got about 5 more minutes. I'm going to bring on the great Renee Yawarski. She is the goddess extraordinaire and the director of the show, also a Rhodes Scholar, a trained attorney who has clerked at the highest levels. She has incredible integrity. She's smart and funny. Other than that, she's become a good friend. And let's just finish off, Renee. Am I crazy in thinking things are crazy?
Everything is absolutely crazy right now, and it's a global experience. This is not just relegated to North America. I mean, Canadians are feeling it, by the way. Speaking of North America, that's every Canadian I know is talking about how stressed out they are now because of this. But of course, we have war across the globe, famine. So yeah, everything is kind of crazy. And I wanted to mention, you and I were talking about very often this time slot is dedicated to relationships and discussing the importance of relationships, having a healthy relationship. And that's one of the ways that I stay stable in my life is the relationships around me, right? So I don't know, earlier you were talking about your friendships and friends and stuff like that. And I just want to say to everybody who is feeling totally unstable right now, no matter what your background is, invest in the people around you and stability of relationship and your own personal peace, because we're going to need it. It's a marathon. The things outside are not going to get any easier anytime soon. So making sure that we have that marathon mindset and are healthy in our own lives, our social lives, our medical lives, that's going to do you good no matter where you are, right?
You're right, Renee. In fact, interesting observation. First, let me just read something that's up on YouTube as this gets keyed up. Robert Kennedy Jr. has his eye on removing all mRNA research. That means all of the research that came out of HIV for the last 39 years could be wiped away. Oh. We had on last week a trans woman who is a senior advisor to Robert F. Kennedy. DEI as they could get. And if you saw the video, I'm not making it up. I mean, we're talking Technicolor there. So that's another discussion for another time about integrity and all of that. All of us need to suit up and show up and talk to each other and remind each other, because they win, whoever they are. They win if they think that you've decided you're incompetent, you're incapable, you're castrated, you're insane, you're blind, you're stupid. You're not. You're not. Think about 3 months ago and think about now. Have you changed? Have you changed in that time? No. So something else is a little stinky. All right. All that to say, hooray, hooray, right? And I value your friendship, Renee. Mwah, mwah,
Mwah, I value yours too. You're keeping me sane in an insane world. I appreciate you so much.
And I don't need to worry about me too when I go, because that's been removed by the White House.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, everybody. You can catch a copy of this on our Substack. Just go to CaryHarrison.com, CaryHarrison.com. Sign up for the newsletter. You're going to get a copy of this and everything else. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wendell, very much in the control room at KPFK for making this possible. And thank you, you with the ears. Yes, you listening, or you with the eyeballs watching. Thank you for being my friend, because now more than ever, boy, do I need that too. I'll see you next time.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Cary Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between.